The emergency alarm screamed through every corner of the Galactic Council station. Red lights flashed in patterns that made the crystalline walls glow like dying stars. Inside the grand chamber, representatives from 40 different species rushed to their seats. Something terrible was happening, and everyone knew it. The Veltrine delegate appeared on the massive display screen. Her crystalline body was cracked and dim, not bright and colorful like it should be. Behind her, explosions lit up the sky. She was crying, though tears looked different on her kind. Small pieces of crystal fell from her face. "Please," she begged, her voice breaking through the translation devices. "Anyone who can hear this. We need help. The Krell are here. They came 3 days ago. We tried to hide. We tried to run. Nothing works. They just keep coming. Millions of them. They're eating everything. Our cities. Our people. Our children." The chamber fell silent. Every species there knew about the Krell swarm. They were the nightmare that parents used to scare their young ones into behaving. Giant insects that traveled in massive groups, consuming everything in their path. No one had ever stopped them. The only option was to run and hope they didn't follow. The council president, a tall being made of flowing water, spoke slowly. "How long until they reach your main cities?" 70 hours, the Veltrine delegate whispered. "Maybe less." The debate started immediately. The Thrall suggested evacuation. They had big ships that could carry refugees. The Marathi offered to send supplies. The Zilorn promised to open their borders to survivors. Every species had something helpful to say, but no one talked about fighting. That wasn't how things worked in the galaxy. When predators came, you ran. That was the rule. That was how you survived. Ambassador Sarah Chen sat in the human section and listened. She had been Earth's representative for 5 years now. In that time, she had learned that most alien species didn't understand humans very well. They found humans confusing and sometimes frightening. Humans asked strange questions like, "What if we fight back?" and "How do we win?" Most species didn't have words for those concepts in their languages. She raised her hand. The gesture was very human, but the council had learned what it meant. The president looked at her with his watery eyes. He seemed worried. Humans always made him worried. "Ambassador Chen, do you wish to speak?" Sarah stood up. She was short compared to most aliens, but she had learned to use that. Let them think humans were small and weak. It made the surprise better later. "We'll handle it," she said simply. Confused chirps and whistles filled the chamber. The automatic translators struggled with the meaning. Handle what? Several delegates looked at their devices thinking they had malfunctioned. "I don't understand," the president said. "Do you mean you will help with evacuation?" "No," Sarah replied. "I mean humanity will deal with the Krell swarm. We'll stop them." The chamber erupted. Some species made sounds of alarm. Others simply stared. The Thrall delegate, a peaceful herbivore covered in soft fur, stood up on shaking legs. "Ambassador, I think your translator is broken. Did you say you will fight the Krell?" "That's impossible. No one fights the Krell. They cannot be stopped. This is known. This is fact." Sarah pulled out her communication device. She typed a short message and sent it to Earth's military command. The message was simple. Green light. "Krell swarm, Chrysthera 4, respond immediately." The response came back in seconds. Just 2 words. Already moving. She looked up at the worried faces around her. So many species. So many peaceful, gentle beings who had never known war. They evolved on safe worlds where nothing tried to eat them. They didn't understand that some species came from harder places. Dangerous places. Places where you learned to be the scariest thing in the dark or you died. "You asked me once," Sarah said, looking at the president, "why Earth has no large predators in the wild anymore. You asked what happened to our wolves and bears and big cats. You thought maybe they went extinct from natural causes." The president nodded slowly, his form rippling with uncertainty. "They didn't go extinct," Sarah continued. "We killed them. Not because we hated them. Not for fun. But because we needed their territory, and they were dangerous to our children. It took thousands of years, but eventually we won. We became the only apex predator on Earth. We became the top of the food chain, and now we don't need to hunt animals anymore. We hunt much bigger prey when necessary." The chamber was completely silent now. Even the emergency alarm seemed quieter. "The Krell are predators," Sarah said. "They hunt and kill and consume. That's what they do. It's their nature." She smiled, but it wasn't a friendly smile. It was the smile of something that knew it was dangerous. But humanity learned a long time ago how to deal with predators. You send bigger predators after them. The Veltrine delegate appeared on screen again. Ambassador Chen, I don't understand. Are you saying humans will fight for us? Yes, Sarah replied. Our fleet is already on the way. They'll arrive in 48 hours. Tell your people to stay in their shelters. Keep away from the Krell. We'll handle everything else. She closed the communication and looked at the council one last time. You're about to learn something about humans. We're not like you. We don't run from monsters. We never learned how. Where we come from, if you run, you die. So instead we learned to be the thing that monsters run from. Deep in space, far from any civilized system, there was a military station that most council species didn't know existed. Fort Ragnarok floated in the darkness like a sleeping giant. Its walls were thick metal covered in weapon systems. Around it, dozens of ships waited in organized rows. These weren't the sleek, beautiful vessels that carried diplomats and traders. These were warships, human warships, and they had been waiting for this moment. Admiral Marcus Webb stood on the bridge of his flagship and read the message from Ambassador Chen. After 5 years of peace talks and trade agreements, humanity was finally being allowed to do what it did best. He was 60 years old with gray hair and scars that told stories of Earth's bloody past. During the Unity Wars, when Earth's nations finally stopped fighting each other and joined together, he had commanded the forces that ended the last conflict. He was very good at his job. His job was winning battles. All ships, this is Webb. He spoke into the communication system. Activate Predator Protocol. We have authorization to engage a Krell swarm at Crysthera 4. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. The station came alive. Lights blazed. Engines roared. And from hidden bays the Predator fleet emerged. 4 massive warships, each one named after a creature from Earth's past. Creatures that no longer existed because humanity had killed them all. The HSS Dire Wolf was Admiral Webb's flagship. It was 3 kilometers long and covered in railgun batteries. The HSS Megalodon carried missile systems that could level mountains. The HSS Smilodon had energy weapons that could cut through asteroids. And the HSS Tyrant King, named after the mighty Tyrannosaurus Rex, was a carrier filled with smaller attack craft and autonomous drones. On the planet Crysthera 4, a young Veltrine named Shaltir worked in the communications center. She was barely an adult by her species standards, still learning her job. For 3 days she had watched the Krell ships get closer, thousands of them. They looked like insects but were as big as buildings. Their ships were made of organic material, grown rather than built. They fired acid and disease. And they were hungry. Always hungry. Her supervisor had sent most workers home to be with their families. Only a few volunteers stayed to monitor the situation. Shaltir stayed because she had to know. She had to see the end coming. At least then she could warn her family when to pray for the final time. The sensor system made a sound she had never heard before. Something was appearing on the edge of their system. She adjusted the display, thinking it was broken. Nothing moved that fast. Nothing could cross that much distance in so little time. Supervisor, she called out. Something's here. 4 ships. They just appeared out of nowhere. Her supervisor rushed over. His crystalline face went dark with fear. More Krell? No, Shaltir whispered, staring at the readings. The signature is different. These ships they're tearing through space. I've never seen anything move like this. They're leaving scars in their wake. The display showed the 4 vessels. They were angular and aggressive. Every surface bristled with weapons. They didn't glide gracefully through space like council ships. They moved like they were angry, like they wanted to hurt something. Get their identification, the supervisor ordered. Shaltir sent the standard hailing frequency. The response came immediately. Text scrolled across her screen in the council's common language. This is the human predator fleet. We are responding to your distress call. Stay in your shelters. Do not approach the Krell. We will handle this situation. Humans? Her supervisor said in disbelief. But humans don't have military ships. They're a council member. They're peaceful. Shaltir looked at the sensor readings again. These ships were anything but peaceful. Far above the planet in her massive organic command ship, the Krell swarm mother received reports of the newcomers. She was ancient, over 1,700 years old. She had consumed hundreds of worlds. She had fought dozens of species. All of them ran or died. Those were the only 2 options. 4 ships? She had 10,000 in her swarm. The numbers were ridiculous. These humans must be fools. Or perhaps they were coming to negotiate surrender. Some species did that. They offered tribute to be spared. It never worked. but they tried anyway. She sent a message to her children through the psychic link all Krell shared. Ignore the newcomers. Continue approaching the planet. If they get in the way, consume them first. Aboard the dire wolf, Admiral Webb watched the Krell swarm on his tactical display. Every ship was marked, every movement tracked. His computer had already calculated firing solutions for 3,000 different targets. The system was just waiting for his order. Sir, his tactical officer said, the Krell are not changing course. They're ignoring us, Webb smiled. It was not a nice smile. Of course they are. They think we're prey. Send them a message. The communications officer opened a channel to the Krell command ship. Webb spoke clearly, making sure every word was translated properly. This is Admiral Marcus Webb of the Human Predator Fleet. You have entered this system illegally. You have attacked a council member world. You have killed innocent civilians. This is your only warning. Turn around and leave immediately. If you do not comply, we will destroy you. The response from the swarm mother was a shriek of rage and hunger. It didn't need translation. The meaning was clear. Defiance. Webb looked at his crew. They were ready. They had trained for this for years. Every simulation, every drill, all leading to this moment. He spoke an old prayer, words from Earth's ancient past. His grandfather had taught it to him. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For I am the meanest son of a bitch in the valley. The crew roared in response. The sound echoed through the ship. On Earth, that roar would have scattered animals for miles. In space, it was just vibrations. But the feeling was the same. The pack was ready to hunt. All ships, Webb ordered. Weapons free. Show them what apex predators look like. The Predator fleet opened fire. The Krell swarm moved like a living storm. 10,000 ships formed a massive cloud of teeth and acid and hunger. They had consumed entire civilizations using the same tactic. Overwhelming numbers. Relentless assault. No mercy, no surrender. Just endless appetite. They surrounded the 4 human ships completely. From every direction, Krell biovessels closed in, their organic weapons charged, acid sacs filled. The swarm mother watched through the eyes of her children. She could already taste the victory. These humans would learn. The hard way. Then the human ships did something impossible. They split apart in 4 different directions at speeds that should have torn them to pieces. The formation scattered so fast that half the Krell weapons fired at empty space. The targeting systems couldn't keep up. But that wasn't the strange part. The strange part was what happened next. The 4 human ships had positioned themselves at exact points around the swarm. Perfect geometry. And suddenly the Krell weren't surrounding the humans anymore. The humans had surrounded them. Admiral Webb watched his tactical display with satisfaction. Pattern Alpha. Just like we practiced. Wolves taking down elk. The dire wolf opened fire first. Railguns launched tungsten rods at incredible speeds. These weren't energy weapons that shields could deflect. These were solid metal moving at a significant fraction of light speed. When they hit the Krell ships, the biovessels simply exploded. One round punched through 12 ships before its energy was spent. The Megalodon followed up with missile barrages. These weren't normal missiles. They were nuclear-tipped hunter-killers with simple AI brains. They chased fleeing Krell ships and detonated in clusters. Each explosion created a chain reaction. 300 Krell vessels vanished in the first salvo. Just gone. Reduced to atoms. The Smilodon used energy weapons, but not the weak plasma cannons the Council used. These were military-grade lasers designed to cut through ship hulls like paper. The beams swept through the swarm in precise patterns. Dozens of Krell ships fell apart, sliced into pieces, and the Tyrant King released its drones. Thousands of small autonomous craft that flew into the swarm like angry wasps. Each drone had one purpose: find a target and destroy it. They were too small and fast for the Krell to hit. But they carried explosives and shaped charges. They attached to Krell hulls and detonated. Hundreds of explosions blossomed through the swarm. On Crysthera 4, Shaltir watched her sensors in shock. The battle had been going for only 12 minutes. Already over 2,000 Krell ships were gone, destroyed. The humans weren't just fighting. They were hunting. Every movement was calculated. Every shot was precise. They herded groups of Krell into kill zones, then eliminated them with overwhelming firepower. They're working together, her supervisor whispered, like a single organism. But how? The Council races can barely coordinate 2 ships properly. Shaltir pulled up the communication records. The humans were talking to each other constantly. Short, efficient phrases. Tango down. Fox 3 away. Splash confirmed. Defensive pattern 7. The words meant nothing to her, but the humans understood perfectly. They had practiced this, trained for it, maybe for years. In the Krell command ship, the Swarm Mother felt something she had never experienced before. Fear. Her children were dying faster than they could be replaced. The humans weren't defending. They were hunting. They enjoyed this. She could hear it in their communication chatter. They were keeping score. She tried to rally her swarm, ordered them to focus fire on one human ship. 10,000 against 4 meant they still had numbers. Overwhelming firepower could win. It had to win. But the human ships moved like they could read her mind. Every time she sent forces to one location, the humans were already somewhere else. They used the debris field from destroyed Krell ships as cover. They predicted her movements. They knew what she would do before she did it. The direwolf took some hits. Acid burned through sections of its armor. But the ship had multiple layers. Redundant systems. It was built to take damage and keep fighting. The return fire from the direwolf vaporized 50 Krell ships in response. They're trying to run, Webb's tactical officer reported. The swarm is breaking apart. Individuals are fleeing. Webb had expected this. Predators always ran when they realized they were losing. It was instinct. But he couldn't let them go. If even a few escaped, they would warn other swarms. This had to end here. Release the pursuit drones, he ordered. Full pursuit protocol. No survivors. From the Tyrant King, a new wave of drones launched. These were different from the attack drones. These were hunters. They locked onto fleeing Krell ships and followed them. Their programming was simple. Chase until target is destroyed. They would follow for days if necessary. Weeks. However long it took, the Krell started making mistakes. Panic set in. Ships collided with each other. Some tried to hide behind the planet's moon. The human ships followed. The Smilodon cornered 300 Krell vessels in the moon's orbit and eliminated them with precise laser fire. The moon's surface erupted with explosions as destroyed Krell ships crashed into it. The Swarm Mother realized she was going to die. Her ancient mind, which had lived for so long, was going to end here. She tried one last desperate move. She aimed her command ship directly at the planet. If she was going to die, she would take the Veltrine with her. But the Megalodon had been waiting for exactly this move. A single missile, larger than the others, launched from its forward bay. It covered the distance in seconds. The warhead detonated directly against the command ship's core. The Swarm Mother had just enough time to feel surprise before her consciousness ended forever. 47 minutes after the battle began, it was over. The sensor displays showed scattered debris and a few dozen Krell ships fleeing into deep space with human drones following them. Of the 10,000 ship swarm, less than 50 survived. And those survivors would not survive for long. Admiral Webb opened a channel to the planet. Crysthera 4, this is Admiral Webb. Your system is secure. The Krell have been eliminated. We're sending down medical teams to help with any wounded. You're safe now. On the planet's surface, Shaltir stared at her display. Around her, every Veltrine in the communication center stood in stunned silence. The humans had done the impossible. They had destroyed a Krell swarm. Not just defeated it, not just driven it away. Destroyed it completely. In less than 1 hour. Her supervisor finally spoke, his voice shaking. What kind of species are they? What kind of world could create such beings? Shaltir thought about Ambassador Chen's words that she had heard in the council broadcast. About Earth, about predators, about becoming the scariest thing in the dark. She understood now. The galaxy was about to change forever. News traveled fast in the galaxy. Within 2 days, every council member had heard about Crysthera 4. The reports seemed impossible. A Krell swarm destroyed in 47 minutes, 10,000 ships reduced to debris, the survivors hunted down by relentless machines. The Galactic Council called an emergency session. But this time the atmosphere was completely different. Where before there had been curiosity about humans, now there was fear. The chamber filled with nervous whispers and worried glances. When Ambassador Sarah Chen entered, the conversation stopped. Everyone watched her walk to the human section. The council president opened the meeting with a voice that trembled slightly. We are here to discuss the incident at Crysthera 4, the human military response to the Krell swarm. Ambassador Chen, The council has questions. Sarah stood calmly. She had expected this. Fear always came after the demonstration of power. I'm happy to answer any questions. The Marathi delegate rose first. His species were peaceful traders who hadn't had a military in thousands of years. Ambassador, we need you to explain what happened. How did humanity destroy an entire Krell swarm? Such a thing was thought impossible. It wasn't impossible, Sarah replied. It just required proper military tactics and sufficient firepower, both of which humanity possesses. The Zelorn representative, a being made of colored gas, swirled with agitated colors. But the weapons you used. The Council has regulations about weapon yields. Your missiles alone violated 3 treaties on maximum destructive force. Sarah nodded. Those treaties apply to weapons used against Council members. The Krell are not Council members. They're pirates and murderers. Different rules apply. That's not the point. The Threll delegate stood up, her fur standing on edge with distress. The point is that you have such weapons at all. Weapons designed to kill on that scale. What kind of species builds things like that? What kind of minds think that way? The chamber erupted with similar concerns. Species after species stood up with questions that were really accusations. Too dangerous. Too violent. Too aggressive. The same words kept appearing through the translation systems. Sarah waited for the noise to die down. Then she spoke quietly, forcing everyone to listen carefully. You want to know what kind of species we are? Fine. Let me tell you about Earth. Our planet tried to kill us for millions of years. Predators hunted us. Diseases infected us. Weather destroyed our homes. Starvation followed us everywhere. We didn't evolve with peace. We evolved with survival. She pulled up a holographic display. Images of Earth appeared. Wolves hunting in packs. Lions taking down prey. Sharks in the ocean. Humans with primitive weapons facing down creatures much larger than themselves. We learned to hunt because if we didn't, we died. We learned to fight because everything wanted to eat us. We learned to make weapons because our teeth and claws weren't good enough. And we learned to work together because alone we were weak. Together we became unstoppable. The Veltrine delegate stepped forward. It was Shaltir, the young communications officer who had witnessed the battle. She had been chosen to represent her people specifically because of what she saw. May I speak? She asked. The president granted permission. I watched the battle, Shaltir said, her crystalline voice clear and strong. I saw what the humans did. Yes, they destroyed the Krell. Yes, their weapons were terrifying, but I also saw what happened after. Human medics came to our planet. They treated our wounded. They helped rebuild damaged structures. They even treated captured Krell prisoners with medical care before sending them away. She turned to face the council. The humans are predators. This is true. But they are not mindless killers. They have rules. They have honor. They protect the weak. They only hunt those who hunt others. Is that not what we should want? The chamber fell silent. Many delegates looked uncomfortable. The question challenged everything they believed about violence and strength. The Marathi delegate spoke again. But how can we trust them? How can we sleep knowing that humanity has such power? What stops them from using it against us? Sarah smiled sadly. The same thing that's always stopped us. Choice. Humanity chose to end slavery. We chose to stop killing each other. We chose to join the council peacefully. We choose every day to be better than our instincts tell us to be. Judge us by our choices, not by our capabilities. A new voice entered the conversation. The Draxian ambassador, representing a species from the galaxy's edge. They rarely spoke in council meetings. My people have a question. Can humanity help others as you helped the Veltrine? The chamber stirred with surprise. Sarah looked at the Draxian with interest. What do you mean? My colony worlds suffer raids from pirates. The council tells us to evacuate or pay tribute. We do not want to leave our homes. We do not want to pay criminals. Can humanity help us? Before Sarah could answer, 3 more delegates stood up. All from frontier worlds, all suffering from raiders or aggressive neighbors. All asking the same question. Could humanity help them too? The council president raised his watery form for attention. This is highly irregular. The council does not employ military forces. We use diplomacy and economic pressure, which doesn't work against species who don't care about diplomacy, Sarah pointed out. The galaxy has predators, criminals, raiders. The Krell are just one example. There are others. The council pretends they don't exist because you don't know how to fight them. She looked around the chamber. Humanity knows how to fight them. We're offering to help, not to conquer, not to control, but to protect those who can't protect themselves. The debate went on for hours. Some species argued for expelling humanity from the Council entirely, too dangerous to allow. Others argued for restricting human weapons, make them less threatening, and some argued for accepting humanity's offer of protection. Finally, a vote was called. Should humanity remain in the Council? The results were close, very close, but in the end humanity remained by a narrow margin. But there was a condition. Humanity would establish a new organization, the Galactic Peacekeeping Force. Any Council member could request human military assistance through official channels. All requests would be reviewed. Humanity agreed to the terms. As the meeting ended, Sarah received a private message from Admiral Webb. The pursuit drones had tracked the surviving Krell back to their home nest system, a massive complex with millions of Krell. He was asking for permission to attack. To finish what they started? Sarah thought carefully before responding. This was an important moment. The galaxy was watching. She typed her reply, negative. Let them live. The survivors will tell the story of what happened. They'll warn other Krell not to attack Council worlds. Sometimes the best weapon isn't destruction. It's a warning that everyone believes. Webb acknowledged the order. Sarah knew he understood. This wasn't about killing every Krell. It was about changing behavior across the galaxy, about making predators think twice before attacking the weak. As she left the Council chamber, Sarah thought about what had been accomplished. Humanity had revealed its true nature, not as mindless killers, but as protectors. The galaxy would never see humans the same way again. And somewhere in deep space, the surviving Krell returned to their home. They carried with them a simple message for their kind. A new species had entered the galaxy, a species that hunted hunters. The Krell swarm mothers listened to the warnings and made decisions that would have seemed impossible before. Perhaps it was time to find a new way to live, because the old way would get them all killed. 1 year had passed since the Battle of Crystera 4. The galaxy had changed in ways no one expected. The Galactic Peacekeeping Force, which humans called the Pack, had responded to 14 different conflicts. Every single one ended the same way. Swift human victory, minimal casualties, peace restored. Shaltir stood on the bridge of the HSS Dire Wolf and reviewed tactical displays. She wore a human military uniform adapted for her crystalline body. The young Veltrine had done something no other species had considered. She joined the human fleet as a liaison officer. At first her family thought she was crazy, but she knew this was important. Someone from the Council species needed to understand how humans thought, how they fought, how they maintained peace through strength. Admiral Webb had become her mentor. The old warrior treated her like a daughter, teaching her about human military philosophy. Peace doesn't just happen, he told her during their daily lessons. Someone has to maintain it. Someone has to stand between the innocent and the dangerous. That's what warriors do. She had learned so much. Human tactics as strategy, but also their morality. Humans had rules about warfare that seemed strange at first. Don't target civilians. Treat prisoners with respect. Use minimum necessary force. Accept surrender. These weren't suggestions. They were laws that every human soldier followed. Contact on sensors, the tactical officer announced. Multiple ships entering the REL system. Configuration matches Zothic Empire military vessels. Webb moved to the command chair. The Zothic were a militaristic species that ignored Council law. They had refused to join the Council, preferring to take what they wanted by force. For centuries they raided weaker species and the Council did nothing. They didn't have the means to stop it. How many ships? Webb asked. 240. Battleship class and cruisers. They're approaching the REL homeworld. The REL were peaceful farmers. Their species had no military, no weapons. They were exactly the kind of target the Zothic preferred. Easy prey. Send a message to the Zothic fleet, Webb ordered. Standard deterrence protocol. The communications officer opened channels. Webb's message was simple and direct. This is Admiral Marcus Webb of the Human Galactic Peacekeeping Force. You are in violation of Council space. The REL Confederacy is under Council protection. Turn your ships around and leave immediately. The Zothic commander responded with laughter. 4 human ships against 240 of ours? You're outnumbered. Stand aside or be destroyed. Webb didn't respond with words. Instead, he had the tactical officer play footage from Crystera 4. The battle against the Krell. 10,000 ships destroyed in 47 minutes. The images played across all frequencies so every Zathik ship could see. Then Webb spoke again. We ended a 10,000 ship swarm in less than 1 hour. Your fleet of 200 ships interests us very little. You have exactly 1 hour to withdraw from Rel space. If you're still here after that, we will remove you. This is not a negotiation. This is your only warning. Shaltir watched the Zathik fleet on sensors. She could see their formation shifting, uncertainty spreading through their ranks. They were conferring with their home world, trying to decide if the humans were bluffing. 40 minutes passed, then 50. Shaltir thought they would have to fight. But at 57 minutes, the Zathik fleet turned around. They left the system without firing a single shot. Webb nodded in satisfaction. Stand down from battle stations. Send a message to the Rel government. Their space is secure. Sir, Shaltir asked, would you really have attacked them? 200 ships is a lot. Webb looked at her with those old wise eyes. Yes, we would have. Because they needed to know we meant it. But I'm glad we didn't have to. Every battle we win without firing a shot is the best kind of victory. This became the pattern. Word spread through the galaxy. Don't attack council members. The humans will respond. And they don't lose. Pirates change their routes. Raiders found new territories outside council space. Aggressive species reconsidered their expansion plans. But something unexpected started happening. Other species began studying human methods. Not to become warriors themselves, but to understand the principles. Strength, deterrence, defense. The Veltrine established their first defense force. Not for attacking others, but for protecting themselves. The Threll started training programs in strategic thinking. They would never be warriors like humans, but they could at least understand how to defend their interests. On Earth, a memorial was built at Fort Ragnarok. The names of every human who served in the peacekeeping force were recorded there. The inscription read, "They called for help." We answered, not because we are warriors, but because someone had to be. Ambassador Chen addressed the council one final time on the anniversary of the HFY 4 battle. The chamber was different now. Where before there had been fear, now there was respect. Sometimes reluctant respect, but respect nonetheless. 1 year ago, we showed the galaxy what humanity is capable of, she said. We didn't do it to frighten you. We did it to protect the Veltrine. And in this past year, we've protected 14 other species. Not for profit, not for territory, but because it was right. She paused, looking at each delegate. The galaxy is changing. You're learning that peace requires strength. That being peaceful doesn't mean being helpless. Humanity isn't trying to make you like us. We're just showing you that you have options. You don't have to be prey anymore. The Draxian ambassador stood. His colonies hadn't been raided once in the past year. The Draxian people wish to thank humanity formally. You have given us something we thought lost forever. The ability to live without fear. Similar testimonials came from other species. Not everyone was happy with the new order. Some species still feared human power, but none could deny the results. Piracy was down 70%. Territorial disputes were being resolved through negotiation, backed by the threat of human intervention. Peace was being maintained not through weakness, but through strength. Far away in deep space, the Krell Swarm Mothers held a council of their own. The ancient beings debated their future. They could continue as they always had, consuming and destroying. But now there was humanity. The species that hunted hunters. The eldest Swarm Mother, the one who survived HFY 4, shared what she learned. They are not like us. They kill efficiently, but only when necessary. They offer mercy. They have honor. We cannot defeat them. But perhaps we don't need to be enemies. For the first time in Krell history, they sent an official communication to the Galactic Council. They requested negotiations. Not surrender, but dialogue. They wanted to find a new way. The Council was stunned. No one had ever negotiated with the Krell before. Humanity agreed to mediate. It was decided that some Krell colonies could exist on the edges of Council space, with human monitoring. The Krell would have to stop raiding, stop consuming, find new sources of food and resources. It would be difficult. Many Krell refused, but enough agreed that peace became possible. Shaltir recorded a message for her people's historical archives. She wanted future generations to understand what had happened. Before humanity joined the Council, we believed the strong devoured the weak. We thought that was the natural order. We were wrong. The strongest protect the weakest. This is the human way. Perhaps it should be the way of us all. Admiral Webb retired after 2 years of service with the peacekeeping force. He returned to Earth, his duty done. But the organization he helped build continued. New officers, new ships, but the same mission. Protect the innocent. Stop the predators. Maintain peace through strength. The Predator fleet became a symbol known across the galaxy. Not a symbol of war, but of protection. Parents told their children stories about the humans who came when called, who stood between the darkness and the light, who proved that sometimes the scariest monsters were the ones fighting on your side. And Earth, the death world that created humanity, looked out at the galaxy with satisfaction. Their children had found their place among the stars, not as conquerors, not as destroyers, but as guardians. The apex predators who chose to protect rather than prey. The galaxy would never be the same. And that was exactly what it needed.